My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Well, hello there, and welcome to WTA Weekly, and it is the WTA Dream Team of myself and Brenna. Brenna, how you doing?
I'm great, Nick. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's always great having you on, and great having someone else who's really, really excited about all things WTA to talk about things with. So let's dive straight in because... Well, what was it? 2 hours ago, just over 2.5, maybe 2.5 hours ago, Amanda Anisimova became the Beijing champion, second WTA 1000 winner of the season to add to the 2 Grand Slam finals that she's been to. And yeah, this is turning out to be quite the year for Amanda Anisimova, Brenner. How hyped are you getting about her right now?
Yeah, I mean, I just think about this season as a whole. I think it's a very fitting result. I also think about the courts, the conditions, very good for her game. But you also have to think about kind of the mental fortitude it takes at this point in the season, being able to stay locked in and take these big moments because, yeah, it isn't 1,000, but, plenty of upsets along the way. And it was turning out to almost be an all-American affair. She ends up taking down Coco in the semi, and we were thinking maybe it was going to be Fugul in the final, but it wasn't. And she held her nerve. So I am totally pumped for her. You think about the last, 3 finals she's been in. And I think you add Queen's final to that as well.
Yes. Was that?
Yeah.
It was her.
Yeah. So it had been since
Doha. Had an insane run in that tournament to beat her in the keys.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it had actually been a while since her last title, and definitely just huge for her for confidence. And yeah, I'm just a big believer in her game.
Yeah, huge one, really. And I'm not entirely sure that. I think I remember thinking like midway through the tournament when she got through the first couple of rounds, I was like, are we going to get an Iga and Amanda final? And obviously that didn't happen. And we'll go into what happened there. But yeah, for me, Amanda has been playing so well this week. Did you catch any of her matches in this Beijing tournament? Just don't worry about the final, just any of them.
No, I only saw bits and pieces. So, the typical Anisimova game, and yeah, I mean, it's just enough. And I also, like I said, the conditions. I mean, you think about her first title, it was in Doha, and I feel like those type of courts in the Middle East and the Asian swing, they kind of replicate each other. You think about Noskova as well. That's a player who did really well out there as well. When I compare those two court conditions, so yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I think at this time of the year, and we're having all these conversations about how players are feeling come this point in the season. How are their legs? How's their mental? And it's really, really difficult, especially with these stretched out Masters events and just so many big tournaments on the WTA side. So it takes a load of teamwork, effort, but just like the mental capacity to stay level headed throughout the 10 days, 2 weeks.
And given she had quite a quiet first half of the year, I'm not surprised that maybe she's got a bit more in the legs compared to other top players. Now we're at this point in the season, because she wasn't playing as many matches, she wasn't winning as much. She won Doha, but she, she hasn't. But like other than that, like there wasn't really a lot to shout about with Amanda, other than sort of quietly getting on with things. And so when she got to the Queen's final, that was really exciting, and then it's just sort of taken off from there. Don't worry about it. The images, it doesn't work. I'm really pleased to see how she's come along. And I do have to say, like, having watched her, particularly at this year's US Open and now again in Beijing, I am looking at her and going, she is an elite class player right now. I am not surprised that she's beaten Arena and Iga this year. I'm not surprised that she was able to dismantle Coco. And I'm super excited because of what that dynamic she could bring to that dynamic, because you can go toe to toe and she could be one of those consistent names that is one of the names to beat at the top of the WTA, because we've been flirting with a big four of the WTA on and off for the last 2 years. When Coco joined the mix after winning the US Open in 23 and then seemed to go off the boil a bit, but I always kept her in the mix. And then you had Rebecca, has just not been the same since winning Stuttgart in 2024, and has kind of dropped off that role as the fourth person. We've had Madison Keys look like she might have become the fourth after winning Australian Open. And then Mira Andreeva seemed to make a big step up when she won Dubai and then Indian Wells back-to-back. And okay, is it actually Andreeva who's going to be that fourth person in the mix? And then she's kind of not followed through on it as much as we would have thought. And now we're looking at, is it Amanda Anisimova now? My question to you, Brenna, is, do you see Amanda as like the fourth at the top with Arena, Iga and Coco? And if so, how long do you think it'll be for?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think Amanda has. I think when you go across surfaces, it becomes a more difficult question, right? Because off the top of my head, thinking about the clay season for Amanda, I don't think it obviously would have gone as well as.
Big breakthrough. Roland Garros 2019. If she'd beaten Nash Barty, she probably would have won that tournament as a 17-year-old.
True. It feels like ages ago. But at this point, right, it's comparing Coco's status to Anisimova's status. And for that, I guess, 3-4 spot. But I don't think there's anyone at this point like Pegula that would be a close rival. But yeah, for me, she's definitely a top four. And it wouldn't be crazy to put her at the 3 slot. Obviously bearing, a major result, but, she was in 2 major finals and, so that's how I see it. I think she's definitely the fourth and could be a third if you were to argue.
I think, if Amanda can build some points this year, third is definitely on the cards, because Coco's going to lose 1,500 points from WTA finals. In fact, actually, is that ranking including Coco's 1,000 points from Beijing last year? Or is that fully updated rankings?
This right here?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I hope it is.
It's the WTA, so probably not.
Yeah. True.
It's the WTA website. I'm looking at like the levels below, and like I'm not saying that Andreeva or Keys or even Paolini and Rybakina are out of the mix. I think they're the next ones down, or Pegula, depending on the location. I don't think they're really out of that content. They're like the next level down. They're like the ones that they're going to be there and on their they are more likely to have a day to challenge these four at the top than any other. But I do think the way Amanda is playing, I just get the sense it's a little bit more consistent right now. And if she's consistently in there, she's going to be picking up titles when Arena and Iga are not. That's going to make a big, big difference then, because suddenly you could be talking about Amanda Anisimova as world number one. We're probably getting a bit ahead of ourselves there, but she's got the game for it. Absolutely got the game for it. That backhand is lethal. A forehand is lethal. It's just when it just all needs to click on the day. But we know that she could beat anyone. And I just feel like on the day's happening a lot more for her now. Agreed.
I mean, I even think about the Paulini match that was earlier this week. I don't know what day. But, it takes
quarterfinals. So
right.
Thursday?
Yeah, something like that. But, I think about that match, having to come back and figure it out, find a way after losing, a tough tiebreak. But I also think about, Nick, when you kind of mentioned on, if it's not Iga and it's not Sabalenka, it's probably Anisimova. And I would totally agree. And you mentioned her game, and it's just like, I also think about the tour schedule in general and just like how perfect it is, I think, for Amanda in terms of, obviously Australia courts that are, perfect for her. And you go to the Middle East, which is also, as we saw, ideal conditions for her. And, it's players like her and Towson and even Noskova who were, showing their ability, after that kind of Australian Open lag for Sabalenka and Iga. And then you think about, I'm kind of glossing over the clay season. We'll get there in due time, but you go right to grass season, and like, once again, perfect conditions for her. Arguably could have had 2 titles of the 4 on grass. And then you go into the US Open hard court, or, North American hard court swing. Once again, like ideal situations, a little bit of fatigue for people in the grass season, whatever it may be. And you get like a US boost. And then we're here and she's still winning. So I think her ability to do it over, long periods of time, but also, you take advantage of a draw where Sabalenka isn't playing. And, at this time, you're the one winning the first set 6-love and trying to manage it all. And so I really give her a lot of credit because, we don't know what it feels like to lose back-to-back major finals. So.
And that's going to be a huge confidence boost for her that she can win a major final in the future, that she can just bounce back and win a high-level tournament. Because, yes, even though Irina wasn't the draw, Iga and Coco were, and she had to beat Coco. Yep. So I think this is going to be a huge confidence boost for Anisimova to kind of get to the next big tournament. I think she's going to be super dangerous at the WTA finals. I think there's a good chance that she's going to be a real contender at the WTA finals. I'm on the Anisimova hype train. As is Jake. Jake, thank you so much for the £5. That is like, sending us money is crazy, dude, because you need that for beer. But thank you so much. And yeah, good point. Was the biggest thing that for Amanda is that her power game is very easy to repeat. She's also been very resilient in a lot of matches, and yeah, there has been that increased resilience and managing that. Managing that, we've got another £5 from Jake. Jake, you need to, Jake, what are you doing? Thank you so much. This means you're just basically buying John beers. Yeah, we need to look at the grass and hardware and Anisimova community, but she has evidence of playing well on clay. What will it take for her to win RG? So there's like 2 points from Jake here that we're addressing, but he's kind of spamming us with that now. So I guess, what do you think about Anisimova's resilience and her repeatability for results, but also and do you want to answer Jake's question about RG?
Right. No, I know. I brought that up in my mini monologue about the season and whatnot. Clay season, it's just difficult for me to talk about right now. But yeah, I mean, I think it won't be as straightforward and you're really thinking about Anisimova coming through these matches with, more ease on a hard court, a quicker court that, maybe a little bit more low bouncing. Clay will just be more of a obstacle, if you will. It will just be more difficult in terms of getting those results. Come that season, it's a lot more physical style of play, and that might not be in her best interest, but I think her ability to adapt and as we've seen like throughout the year, just being able to have that consistency that really shows kind of where you're at mentally and as a team. I think she has a good team around her and really enjoying herself on court, and you can see that. But yeah, I already talked about kind of how impressed I am in terms of just her ability to win throughout the year. And once again, I mentioned the last 3 finals, 2 of them being major finals and a 500, the Queen's final. I mean, it's very easy to just bow down in a sense, but she got after it and found a way.
Yeah, I think it was what we was talking about before. The second super chat from Jake derailed my point. I think she handles these situations a lot better. And I think particularly the way she bounced back from that Wimbledon loss is impressive to me. So yeah, watch out for her. RG, I think she can win on clay. I think the big problem is that I think RG is kind of the hardest slam to win in terms of that is where that certain players are playing well, because that's kind of it's Iga Swiatek's backyard and it's Coco Gauff's backyard, and Sabalenka plays well there as well. So, but she plays well everywhere, to be fair. So I think it's actually going to be harder to get through because that's where her big rivals in the top 4 really shine. Whereas I think the opportunities on hard courts and grass are a little bit more open for her, maybe because to use her strengths, but also I do think that opportunities open up because there's some surfaces where you would imagine certain players don't, or surfaces or conditions. It doesn't even need to be surface, but it can be like how things are in New York. Just open things up a little bit more. So I think that's where I'm at with it. It's just the field in RG is going to be harder for her to get through. I think her game works on clay. I think that's going to be the bigger problem for her going forward. So there we go. We are celebrating Amanda Anisimova. With that result, we're on the hype train. Do you think that obviously we'll do a Wuhan preview in a minute, but but later in the show, do you think that she's going to have that sort of consistency dip that usually comes when you win a tournament and you need to kind of regroup that every player deals with in Wuhan, or do you think that she's going to be a factor there too?
Good question, Nick. I am taking a little look ahead at the draw. And Wuhan's a little bit of an asterisk in terms of the tournament because it is a smaller draw.
Yeah.
So it's funny, like I saw something about the qualies looking like a 250 draw, for example. Yeah. But she earns herself the bye, which helps. I don't know the distance between Wuhan and Beijing. That comes into factor. But yeah, it's difficult. I mean, she's either going to play Buzas Meniero or Gracheva in the first round. So yeah, it won't be easy.
Is not an easy first round, that's for sure.
Right. So it won't be easy. There is that mental fatigue, that physical fatigue, celebration. So my answer is it's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We will go back to Wuhan.
Yeah.
Right. Let's round up the rest of the stories from Beijing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of what order to do. Let's just do this in order of performance. Linda Noskova. Best result of the year by far.
Yep.
I'm not going to say it came out of nowhere because we know she's good. And this is kind of reflective of where I think her top talent level is. Getting to a 1,000 final, beating players like Pegula, and having a really solid week. And this was a real up week. But when you compare this to the rest of the year for Noskova, it's like outshines everything else. So I'm really glad that she's kind of made this step and she's kind of building some experience at the highest level. Now top 20, breaks top 20 for the first time. But yeah, thoughts. What are your thoughts on Linda Noskova post Beijing?
Yeah, I mean, Nick, I'm really high on her. I'm going to be honest. It slipped my mind or whatever it may be. I didn't realize she was 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Still young.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous. What a player she is. And it's common to say that on the WTA Tour because you think about these players that have, such high peaks and they do it for a few matches. And Noskova has been one of those players. But when I think back to that kind of Middle East run that she had, and it was more of like, yeah, she's going to come through that. She was playing such good tennis. Like, these are the perfect types of courts for her. And she's a player that arguably possesses a similar game to that of, Anisimova, maybe like Muhova-esque in a sense, where it's aggressive baseline play. It's fairly flat ball hitting, and she can pack a punch.
I've never heard of Muhova being called an aggressive baseliner before. That's interesting.
Okay. Fair enough. To be fair, I just looked at the draw really quickly and I was like, where's the name that fits? But yeah, I mean, she's just one of those players that can kind of overpower you from the baseline. And it's all about consistency for her. And I think, yeah, I mean, it's a trend, but when she can get it going, she can really hang with the best of them. And I think she was able to display that obviously this week. But I mean, looking at her draw, I mean, you even think back to Pegula, tough match. Cartel had a really good week. And I think the big one that, she didn't have to play Andreeva, which was huge. So
Or Iga,
right. That was very important for her. And obviously got away with the Zhang retirement. So, I mean, all in all, needed to get results to get through. But, yeah, I think she's dangerous on these types of conditions.
Yeah, she's good. She's in the mix. And I think one of the highs of a good week is like winning that second set after getting bageled in the first and the final was, I think, big for her. She was, to come back and like make that second set a real fight. And then even fighting in the beginning of the third set and make it difficult for Amanda before Amanda kind of finally broke, and that was decisive. I was impressed by the fight that she showed because she can go toe to toe with the best players in the world. She's got the power for it. And yeah, I think I was impressed by her resilience this week. We talked about Amanda Anisimov's resilience. Like, Noskova can occasionally be a bit rabbit in the headlights, and like some of the big moments she freezes or she doesn't make the most of opportunities. She really did. I don't think she could have done much better in that final against Anisimova. She certainly made the most of her semi-final against Pegula. I think this week's been a real step forward for Linda Noskova, and I think we'll be starting to hear more and more of her. So she's 20, so I'm not surprised she's not that consistent. Like, that comes with age and experience, and her prime's a couple of years away. So I think we'll be seeing this name, Linda Noskova, a lot more, and I'm so excited for that. And we know she can beat Iga Swiatek, as we say here. She can probably beat a lot of other players on tour, so the top players. So I wonder, yeah, we'll see her winning one of these 1000s one day.
And I think she has a pretty good serve too, Nick. So I mean, just kind of has the full package there. And yeah, as you mentioned, 20 years old. So you're right. I think we will hear more about her in the coming seasons.
We will indeed. Right. Well, interestingly, in China, this tournament was all about the Americans. Let's be honest. Like, Linda Noskova kind of spoiled the American party in so many ways, because we were talking about, like, Americans were locking out the rest of the semi-finals, because we also had, obviously, Amanda Anisimova won the tournament. Coco Gauff was in there. Jessica Pegula was in there. Emma Navarro took out Iga Swiatek. This was a good week for American women's tennis. So we'll probably be spending a lot more time talking about Americans, which is probably a good thing that we have Brenna on the show for this one. So let's talk about them. Let's go with Coco Gauff first. And the title of the show says, "What's up with Gauff?" We know what's up with Gauff. It's that she's still developing the serve. And I thought up until the Anisimova match, she looked pretty good this week and looked like she made some steps forward. That's right. She made some step forward this week, but obviously wasn't holding up well against Amanda Anisimova, who was on top form. Where are you at with Coco Gauff right now? Is it a case that we just need to be patient for her and wait for these changes to take effect?
I think there's some truth to that statement, Nick. I think it's taking it with not with a grain of salt, but just like being a little bit patient, right? I think this week just displayed another classic Coco Gauff week where her ability to fight, her mental strength, and it got a little bit like angry for her with the Bencic. I'm not sure if you saw that incident.
I heard about it.
Yeah. So like these are just like all fighter-esque wins. Fernandez, Bencic, Lise. That was able to get her to a semifinal, and not many players can say that. It's not like she's out there just slapping the ball around, but even her, she's saying like, I have to fight to get through these matches, and they're quality opponents, but I'm up for the battle. But then you go against a player of Anisimova's caliber, and look, we're talking like top 5 players, and that's where Coco Gauff belongs. But if she can't find the serve, then she can't find rhythm, and then it's about how does she want to approach her match? Like, is she going to be aggressive? Is she going to defend? And I think that's the tricky part right now. You do talk about like changes, like that just happened just a month ago. Really, is when we're getting a new serve, we're getting a new coach in the box, and trying to change mechanically. That's just such a difficult thing to do on the tour because yes, it takes time, but then you're fighting habits, you're fighting old habits, and that's difficult. But Coco is a champion, right? Like you can't just you can't lay it down like that. And I think she's going to give it her all, no matter what. And here she was defending her title. I think she came in to this week maybe with that mindset of like, okay, it kind of is what it is, in that sense, where I think it's looming over her that like that French Open title like happened, and you kind of check a box, but she needs to find a way to rekindle the fire a bit and get herself going, because players treat these last few weeks in different ways, but for her, she's got the WTA finals looming, so it's like it's kind of a mini sort of season, if you could look at it in that sense. And I think she it's definitely a struggle in terms of finding that rhythm, but we do know where it starts. And yeah, I guess my short answer is yeah, it will take time, and I feel like we just have to be willing to accept that.
Yeah, we may not see the fruits of it until Australia,
right?
Maybe even later. Although I don't think the serve was the biggest problem for her in that Amanda Anisimova match.
Right.
Was it? I think it was just sheer Amanda overpowered her, which is a different issue. And I think certain players can do that. It's very rare that Coco gets overpowered. But I think Amanda Anisimova is someone who can do that. Hashtag not sponsored. But the joke, but we actually are not sponsored. So the just to throw that out there with Gauff. I agree with what you're saying, that like there's other things going on, and it will take time, and she needs to be patient with herself, and her fans need to be patient with her. In fact, all fans need to be patient with her. That I think, given that she's rebuilding her game, a semi-final run and losing to the world number 4 is not a terrible result.
Right.
Really is not. So I guess then it comes down to, obviously you're seeing this as a mini season for her to kind of develop and see if she can get a result, because she's only got one title this year, and that's the French, unless you count United Cup. So I guess my question would be, Brenna, how much does it matter if the French Open is the only trophy that she wins from 2025? If she is going deep and consistently winning matches the rest of the time?
Yeah, so it's like consistency over royalty, or vice versa in a sense, and that's a tough spot, I think, for Coco, like seeing the success that Anisimova has had, right? It's a little bit of a pride thing, right? That's what the sport kind of brings out of you, especially when you have such a competitive like country of players at the top. I mean, we had a chance there, right? I mean, it was almost, Madison Keys wins Australia, Coco wins French, and then Amanda's in the Wimbledon final, and then who knows? But at some point, it does become a little bit more of a competitive aspect where, titles do mean more, and who had the better year? By far, Anisimova, right? It's difficult. That's a really good question, because she won one. I don't know, Nick. I'll pose that to you. Who, like, when it's all said and done, or like say the season ended today, like, who would you rate had the better season? I don't know. Is that the question? If you were to compare Coco Gauff and Amanda Anisimova,
I would say Coco Gauff, because Grand Slam is worth more than a 1,000, and even though Amanda's got 2 of them, I think for me that matters more. I think if Coco won the French Open and then literally didn't get past the 4th round anywhere else, I'd say Amanda. But Coco's been reaching finals and semi-finals. So I am going to say that, like, when you finish it's not a bad season. I don't rate the quality of players' seasons based on trophies.
Right.
I rate it based on how many matches they win, and whether they are in the mix for those trophies. Because at the end of the day, there's loads of other players trying to win trophies as well who are good enough. Well, not loads, but you have Arina Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek, and now potentially someone else, Anisimova. We will see. We've been here before, as I said at the top of the show, earlier in the show. So what in that scenario, then if those are the only 4 players allowed to win trophies, then Gauff wins what? 1 Grand Slam and 2, maybe 3 1,000s. That's when you kind of, if you see tennis like that, then it's not great. But if you see tennis in terms of, but there's other people who can get in the mix. There are other players who are good enough to win these. But Coco's in contention every single time. That makes it a good season. And it's the same, I would say the same about Iga Swiatek's season, by the way. I would also say the same about Arina Sabalenka's. So who had the better season out of the 2? Still Gauff. She ended up with one of the better trophies to win. The ones that everyone's trying to get to, and deservedly so. So I'm still going to go with that.
Yep. I think that's a great answer. But yeah, I mean, I think there is some now, like, a little bit more rather than internal, there's that external pressure of, like, who's going to be the top American. And that's I think, like, not the worst situation for Coco moving forward. Just a little bit of that noise in the back to keep pushing her forward. And we'll be monitoring those changes.
Indeed we will. Especially since we get to the latter part of the year when Coco's got some big points to defend in the WTA finals. And obviously with this developing story of how to serve. So let's see how that goes. Jessica Pegula. Let's talk about her.
Yeah.
What that was the latter part of Jessica's tournament was so bizarre because she should have won easily against Emma Navarro and dropped the first set after losing 6 set points. And then misses match points to lose to Noskova in the semis. And that I get the sense that Pegula made this tournament a little bit more stressful than she needed to, because she was having a great run at an event outside of the US, which was great for her. This was a really good tournament, but I do worry this might be a blot on her copybook.
Yeah, I agree with you on all fronts there. I was definitely, impressed because we see Navarro have almost a repeat offense of her breakdown in a tiebreak, and then not being able to figure it out in the third set. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Pegula coming off of a promising U.S. We'll just call it U.S. Open run, and then you get to play on the Billie Jean King Cup team, which was as close. Like it was successful until it wasn't, which is definitely a little shocking. Losing to the Italians in the singles, and that hurt. But yeah, did have an opportunity to bounce back here, and was going up against formidable opponents every round, and a flat ball hitter, and these conditions worked out well for her. But yeah, I mean, she found good levels, but I think at a point, it became a little bit more physical, and I think that probably took a toll on her a bit. Playing consecutive 3-setters and whatnot. So, yeah, definitely impressive to play that level of tennis, and definitely enjoy being out in Asia this year.
How confident are you that she's going to make WTA finals? Is it pretty much locked in at this point? It's not official because we've got 5 of the 6 that yeah, we've almost got some people confirmed. I think Pegula's nearly in there.
This wouldn't be the tab to show up, but yeah, right now I assume this is live.
I think you need the race, not the
race. Yes, this is what we need. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Yeah, I mean it's.
She's not far off.
Yeah. Everything but good. So yes, I would favor her. I know we're almost there. I mean, I'll take a quick look ahead. She is going to play the winner of Haley Baptiste and Ashlyn Kruger. So an All-American affair in the second round in Wuhan.
Big one.
Yep. Which, we would favor her, but still a good amount of tennis for her over the last 2-3 weeks. So once again, not easy playing another American as well, who'll be coming in with some confidence.
And definitely she seems to be reestablishing herself as a consistent force in the mix. So semifinals in the US, as you say, semifinals in Beijing. She's obviously got a couple of 500 titles this year. Like, that's why she's in WTA finals. Like, she's going to be in the WTA finals again. And it does seem to be like some points throughout the year we were questioning, has Pegula lost some of her spark? But she does seem to have got it back. I really hope that she keeps it after this loss, and she just needs to it might be just running out of gas in one way or another. That's the main problem, and that happens to a lot of players, and she shouldn't beat herself up for it like it happened to Anisimova, which is why she got double bageled at Wimbledon.
Right.
Look where she is now. So why not Jess as well? So yeah, I like your point there. So yeah, Pegula, great. We'll see how she does in Wuhan, as you say, against the others. Emma Navarro. This has to be the highlight of her season, right? Okay, she won Merida, the 500s. That's her trophy for the year. But beating Iga Swiatek and going 3 sets with Jessica Pegula in the quarters is probably got to go down as like the biggest thing from her season.
Yeah, I won't lie. I was surprised waking up to some of those results throughout the week. Um, we know what it takes to beat Iga Swiatek, and all I heard was like that how erratic Iga was. But that's something that like I credit Emma Navarro on from the first time I watched her. Just the amount of balls she puts in the court and just relentless defense and how much that can get you in this sport is really impressive. But I have to assume she's taking a little bit more chance on the forehand and even the backhand wing, like just going for it a bit more. But yeah, I mean, her game style is made to draw out errors, make it physical, and she's improving in terms of when to pick her moments of being a little bit more aggressive as a player. But I mean, definitely an exciting week for her. Didn't really see it coming, but here we are. It hopefully gives her a little boost. And I think I know we talked about it. I think it was the last time we talked, Nick, but the Billie Jean King Cup and just having that camaraderie around the team to start your Asian swing. I think that's kind of an interesting little jolt to maybe just feel a little bit more confident after it's tough coming from the U.S. and getting your mental correct. And I think that definitely kind of given her a boost just being around those girls and maybe just that confidence she needed that she can get some results in the latter half of the season.
She was kind of the MVP of that Beijing King Cup because she won a couple of ties in really tough circumstances. Like there were 3 setters, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was probably the source of her getting a bit of a boost coming into Beijing. And
Right.
there's definitely been. I definitely think that she's got a lot more confidence to her. Maybe being a top 10 player was weighing on her a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, her being a bit more aggressive because she's got the weapons for it would make her a more dangerous player. But there's no question in my mind that she's a lot more confident now. So you didn't see the match with Iga?
I did not. I
No.
mean, I heard a lot about
Similar
spraying.
situation. I didn't see it either.
Yeah. That it's very, uncharacteristic of Iga, but it can happen from time to time in these sort of random circumstances.
I think from what she said in press and what like Vance has said, it was part of that was down to Iga not having like basically just digging in the wrong game strategy, which I think for me shows that she was having a bit of a mental off day. To a certain extent, I think when she does that, it just means her head's not just fully in the game and she's not executing. And just sort of pivoting to that at the moment, I think I hate talking about things in terms of players lost matches because let me put this: Emma Navarro bageling Iga Swiatek in the final set. That takes its own kind of mental resilience from Emma to like stave off the comeback from one of the best players in the world that if you go into a third set with them, it's going to be tough. And she comes out and she gets the early break, she gets the momentum, and she makes the most of it. And that's, I fully believe that she did that because if Emma Navarro had let up in any way, Iga would have been all over it and that match would have been different. So
you're not wrong. I'm thinking the same thing. And what's crazy, I think they've played 3 times before. I can double check that really quickly. But
I know they played earlier this year.
It hasn't gone well for Navarro. So yeah, that's just my point. It's like it takes some risk and I guess just putting yourself out there. And
you have to play well to beat Iga Swiatek on a bad day. That's the reality of it. It's very rare for me to say she lost to a player who didn't deserve it. Like Navarro worked hard, and Kirit in the live chat is saying that Emma was hitting with depth and returning well. So that tells you something. Like if you're returning well against Iga, then you're in the game. especially in the current version of things. So it was 2-0. There you go. So it's now 2-1. And the previous one I know was a beatdown in Australia.
Right,
So
and that was like 2-1 or something. Yeah, so
Emma had to step up and be confident to get that win, 100%. I don't think if Iga came out and played how she was against anyone else ranked lower than Emma, she still would have won that match. Or anyone who wasn't having as good a tournament as Emma Navarro. So look, she hadn't even won a set before. And Iga probably, I would also say, like, Iga Swiatek probably also, good grief, they played Charleston. When did Iga play Charleston? That's
I know, 2018.
a long time ago. I think, they're both the same age, so they were both teenagers then.
Yep.
So I think this was all about a Navarro win. And like, Iga won a set. Iga's always going to win sets in this rivalry, I think, minimum. So let's switch the thing to Iga. I think I don't like that players can't have off days when we talk about them. That there's got to be some fundamental flaw that means that they lose that they need to fix. Iga's fundamental flaw is sometimes she gets stubborn and will stick to a game plan in the belief that it works most of the time, so why not stick to it? And we thought we'd kind of move past that, but it's still going to be there because that's part of her personality and how she processes things. She is going to lose matches like that for the rest of her career, I think. So if we're saying that Iga Swiatek will never be a great player unless she rewires her brain is really just ridiculous to me. And you could say, well, that's what Daria is for. And it's not just Iga's fan base, by the way. It's casual fans watching, expecting this narrative of her being a great player. It's the tennis media watching to see if she's going to be the next GOAT or not the GOAT, but to join the pantheon. And it's kind of that step up. So to kind of say she needs to change her approach and say she needs to always be focused, I think she could do that, but there will be days where she can't. It's a bit like telling someone to stop being a perfectionist. They're not going to do that easily, especially in a high-stress situation such as a match. So I think this is just one of those losses that Iga Swiatek will always have in her career. And there's not a lot that she can do to completely stop it. That's kind of my rant. I don't know what your thoughts are, Brenna.
I think you're totally correct, right? I mean, when we think of these tennis players, sometimes we forget, like, it's not easy to travel the world every other month and play at 110%, right? It's just not feasible. You're going to have lapses throughout the season. And she even said it after the US Open. She was having a foot issue. She wasn't practicing as much and adjusting to Seoul, where, hey, it's like that type of ego. We know she wasn't 100%, still comes out, victorious. Like that's, that says enough about her. But, Seoul was a slower, so she's talking about conditioning, adjusting to slower conditions, and then talking about Beijing, just trying to feel the surface a little bit more, play a little bit more aggressively. But I mean, it's just it takes time to adjust to these conditions, and I think you're going to have lapses, and that's just the reality, right? It's unusual for her. She's typically one of the most consistent players, and I mean that from like a ball striking perspective, right? She doesn't miss a lot of balls, and she was playing an opponent where usually she's the one dictating and taking advantage in these neutral rallies, and clearly she was just not on it, right? It's just so rare to see Iga get bageled and her being on the receiving end of it. And that just, shows you that she wasn't all there mentally. And maybe that became a physical problem. And the game wasn't working, right? And I'm with you. It's tough. It's tough because you think about Sabalenka's season. She probably played a few for 5 less events, but yeah, she was going deep in every single one and this, that. So I understand.
It was Iga bar 1 or 2 of them.
Right. So, I mean, I understand, like, with this sport, it brings out that kind of mentality for fans and just people who are putting their eyes on the sport. They expect the top players to win, but it just doesn't work that way, right? Every tournament is different. All conditions are different, and we don't know circumstances. I mean, not even to bring it up, but, like, remember she loses early in Madrid and everyone's freaking out, and, there was underlying, personal issues behind it.
You mean
but
Rome?
Rome, was it? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it was Rome. She lost early to Collins. She got to
Yep.
the semis of Madrid.
Okay. Yep. So, right. It's just that can happen in our sport, and yes, people are frustrated because they expect her to win everything. Yeah.
But this is why the WTA is great at the moment, because if you did get the top, when you do get the top guys who are winning all the time, you get Sinkaraz, which you get amazing finals, but nobody's interested in the rest of the tournament. So you can't have your cake and eat it. So bring it on. Iga. And Arena has the same problem. Like, Arena has lapses. Coco has lapses. So Arena has as many lapses as Iga does, probably. So let's see. I think we just need to adjust our expectations, and, like, is Iga Swiatek performing at the same kind of dominance as Serena Williams did? No. Nor's Arena. Could she one day? I don't see why not. Depends on the field. Depends on how she develops. It may well be she'll come out next year and she'll have fixed all these things that maybe are holding her back while she's working on fixing some things. In the end of the day, she's had a good season. And I think it's similar to Gauff. I think she'll go back. She can look back and go, this was a good year. She's got 3 titles out of it, including a Grand Slam. And been in the mix for loads and loads of other titles. The lapses are there. The lapses happen. Sometimes they'll happen more. Sometimes they'll happen less. Say that with every player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely sad too. I mean, I know this has kind of been a theme, but the abuse that players receive after matches, it's very. It happens to all of them, and it's just interesting when players do come out and share it. And Iga, we know, like, in the tennis magnifying glass, that we get such a look into everyone's personal life at such a close, just a lot of exposure to it. And I think that's hard. And she's obviously, when you're sharing those things, it kind of means something, and like that's hard because we know how. Like, all of the players are sensitive, but Iga in particular is just very particular about these things, and it's tough seeing her down like that. It's tough seeing anyone down like that, but it's hard to see a player who brings so much positive energy and so much positivity to the sport and the WTA as a whole, and, like, just because she loses one match, like, people have to go after her. It's tough.
Yeah, and like any match, because I think if we saw that with other players sharing that as well after their losses. Who was it who shared theirs? I think
Katie Bolt. I'm looking at an article right now that says
it happened
Pegula,
recently.
Katie Boulter.
Might have been Pegula.
Yeah.
No, not acceptable. Don't do that. These players are human, and just because you placed a bet on them does not make them worthless if they lose. All right. We'll wrap up the week that was. Brenna, what do you think? What was your favorite match from Beijing? What was the best match from Beijing?
Best match of Beijing. Sleeper Kostiuk Pegula.
Okay.
I think I was keeping tabs on that match. It was a match that was going on like the mid morning for me, as it continued to creep longer, and that was a thrilling 3-setter. I think Kostiuk is one of those players who's, like, on the edge right there, who can compete with the best of the best. but getting over that line is always difficult for her. Just what an amazing athlete she is. And I thought that was in contention, although it wasn't anticlimactic third set. But I'll roll with that one. What about you, Nick?
Okay. Yeah, I think the third set does let it down for me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I can see why. The second set was amazing. I think for me, I really enjoyed the third set between Paolini and Mukova. But I think I think for me, it's between Gauff and Fernandez or Anisimova. That was good. Yeah. Or Anisimova Paolini.
Yep.
Because that was a real battle later on in the tournament. And it's came back from that tough tiebreak. So it's between those two for me, I think.
Yeah. Yep. They're exchanging, I think, breaks in that, or they're exchanging looks. Each had some looks to get ahead, and it was finally Anisimova who did it.
Yeah, super tight.
Also, small shout out, I think it's worthy, is Ava Lees. I think their deepest run at 1,000.
Yes.
And her first top 10 win came over Mira Andreeva. So,
Sona Kartal as well. Big breakthrough for her.
Yep. She is a prospect for sure. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, wasn't the Rybakina, Gauff, and Iga and whatnot sort of situation, but we got some storylines, and I thought it was a positive week for the WTA Tour.
Yeah, definitely a fun week. And we've got another good week coming up.
Yeah.
Wuhan. Let's break down Wuhan. So I think the two things that we're looking at from this draw before we kind of look at the first rounds are, as we look at this. So Arina Sabalenka is back. Zheng Qinwen is not playing. You keep texting me about Zheng Qinwen, and it seems to baffle you that how she's managed this comeback.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, Nick. Yeah, I have felt strongly about this, and I think it's for a few reasons. The first being the player at hand, the player at stake. It's Kun Zhang, who is proven to be whatever we want to call it, a top 10 player with ease, still super young, so much potential there. And we have this situation where she has elbow surgery. I'm going to get it wrong, but is it right before Wimbledon or like during that sort of time?
Yeah, around just before Wimbledon, yeah.
Yeah. And look, I don't know. It's not like I'm trying to be the Dr. Brenner here, but I know these injuries take a long time, and it's the elbow. It's the most important, I guess, area of your body that a tennis player can, I don't know. I mean, we could point to a lot of them, but it's arguably the most important. And I just don't think her rushing back yields so much positivity for her, but I just don't want this to like be a theme. And I understand, because when you go through that surgery, you're like, okay, in 2.5 months, it'll be the Asian swing, and, I'll have an opportunity to make a comeback in front of, my own fans. And I totally understand that. And we've also talked about the other external factors, which is the fans, which is the tournaments themselves, tournament directors. We don't know kind of the conversations going on behind the scenes. And it just feels like, to me, she got pressured into a scenario that wasn't necessarily beneficial for her. I understand she does get a match under her belt. She beats Emiliana Arango, which, it's a great hardcourt matchup if you're Zhang, and it's a good match to come back to. And that's great for them. But I just think being more realistic with the time frame, with the approach to the comeback, and I'm sure things have been going great in the recovery process. I mean, she's willing to get out on court and do that. I don't think she would do that if she wasn't personally feeling up for it. So I get that part of it. I just thought it was a little bit of a rush, and I just felt like there's external pressures that we can presume, and that kind of just sat with me the wrong way because of the player at stake and how important she's going to be to tennis as a sport. and I just don't want that to be like. I just don't want her to get hurt again. And we already saw her like in a third set against the runner-up, right? She has to retire, and it's like only her second match back. And then, yes, I guess. Well, I'll finish with this. I think about we're talking about Wuhan, like will she play? And it's like it doesn't make sense to play a week later after a retirement that came, I think, probably just because of pain tolerance, right? It's your elbow. It's like I can't go on anymore in the third set of my second match back. It's like let's not even think about Wuhan. Let's continue to recover. And I don't know where. I don't think she's gonna make. Is she gonna make the?
No, she's pulled out.
Yes. Okay. Right. I was gonna say WTA race.
No, she's not in the mix.
Yeah, not
I
in
don't
the mix.
think.
No,
I
it
think
doesn't matter.
It's done.
Correct. Yeah. So it's like, okay, let's just like push. Let's like breathe a little bit, because I just don't. For me, Nick, the only thing I'll pose to you is like, how do you think that last month was for her? Just like the stress of like trying to get ready and like trying to prepare. Meanwhile, if you eliminate even coming back to the Asian swing, then you have, we'll call it 4.5, 5 months to recover and be ready for 2026.
Yeah.
So
well said, Brenna.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me that time. I wanted to put that out there, and I just think it's a player safety thing. Like that caliber of a player should never try and rush back, even if it's for your home fans, your home country.
I do think that there's probably a lot more going on to it, and I completely understand why. I think if I was wanting to play in front of my own fans, especially Zheng, who does play better when she's playing at home in front of her fans, or when she feels like that she's playing for China in some way, that she elevates her game and she gets a lot out of it, and it means something to her.
Yep.
I can completely understand why she made that decision.
Yep.
In the midst of, there's probably external factors that probably made her play, but I think she, I completely understand why she made the decision. She probably wouldn't have played if there was no way, if she was in too much pain. She probably felt it was manageable. It clearly wasn't by the end of that last match. Let's see how. I think, the smart thing to do now is to just rest and recover for the rest of the season and be fresh for Australia, where she is usually a contender.
Exactly. And yes, you always have to see the other side, and which I totally do. I know how like important, and it only happens once a year, and I totally get it. So I see both sides of it. I just think from a player safety, health perspective, future of the sport type of player, I just value that to a high degree. But with that being said, let's jump into Wuhan.
Yeah.
Finish strong here.
So I guess if I'm going to take the overall, before we kind of dig into any kind of, matches to look forward to from the first round or anything like that. To me, this tournament is all about Aryna Sabalenka. Thank you so much for another £5, Nerlan. Jake, thank you for another £5, Jake. You mentioned Nerlan in the chat, in the thing, which is why I got confused. Jake, thank you so much for the £5. We love you, Jake. Really appreciate it. All the comments and insight that you bring in the live chat. So thank you so much. To me, the story of Wuhan is going to be Aryna Sabalenka, because this is her backyard. She's won the last 3 tournaments they've played. She's never lost here. She's coming in rusty after an injury she picked up at the US Open. She needs a bit more time to recover from. That's why she didn't play Beijing. But if I look at where everyone else is at, Iga, you've no idea which version she's going to show up at the moment. Whether it's going to be the world-beating version or the one who is going to be vulnerable when she comes across a player who's playing amazing. Coco is in development right now, and Amanda Anisimova may have a depleted tank. Rybakina has just suffered a shock lot, and then you've got, who's going to be in the mix other than them? Rybakina is just coming off of a shock loss, and Andreeva, Keys isn't playing, and Mira Andreeva is currently very up and down. So I guess to me, this tournament is going to be the question of how much of the favourite is Aryna Sabalenka, and is she sufficiently rusty or hampered that she is legitimately in danger of being upset this tournament?
That is
Or
good.
beaten by anyone?
Yeah, I think that is the question to ask, because you look at her last month and it's just been vacation mode, right? And it's very deserving. I'm happy for her. This season we could definitely be having different conversations now had she not won that US Open. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the draw, it's like, okay, you're gonna get a scrappy match pretty early on, and that's what this type of draw brings you. So there's not much time to get acclimated. And look, I don't know how long she's been in Wuhan, so
I think
that's
she's been there for a fair few days because she's
Yeah.
been doing a lot of sort of welcoming
Media.
media events.
Yep. Good. So like that's really all we can base it off of. Just like how long she's preparing and how she feels in general. The minor injury was, I think, undisclosed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't specific.
Yeah. Unspecified minor injury. So we don't know about that. But I think I think it would be crazy to not be like, I think she is on upset watch. For sure. I just think because of this format and how quickly the big matches come, that might be a little bit too soon for her.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think she's a good enough player that she could play through it.
Yep.
I'm looking at her draw, and I think Kalinskaya. Okay, it depends on which is probably the bigger threat in her second round match, more than Shramkova. But it's going to depend on which version of Kalinskaya shows up. Samsonova's probably the biggest threat she could play in round 3. Again, that depends on which version of Samsonova shows up. And then the quarterfinals, it could be Osaka or Noskova or Rybakina. They are legitimate threats. But again, it's going to depend on which version of them shows up. Anisimova in the semifinals would be a challenge. But again, that's going to depend on her energy levels. She's got Buzas Monero round 1, which is a toughie. If she gets through that, I fancy her against, I think Joint or Schneider could make her life hard, but she could get through that. And then it's a case of, is she playing someone like Jessica Pegula or Ekaterina, or a good version of Ekaterina Alexandrova, a fired up Vicky Mboko, or even an Emma Raducanu? At that point, then I think whoever Sabalenka played would have to be peaking like crazy to stop her. So I'm not saying that you're wrong to put on upset watch. I think there's definitely good reason to do that, and I have her. Like I think if she loses, I wouldn't be majorly surprised. But I'm looking at this, and I guess I have that much confidence in Sabalenka right now that I don't know if that's going to be a huge danger for her. And that's how I'm kind of seeing things from like the bigger picture of the Wuhan draw at the moment. The second half of the draw is also going to be interesting for different reasons, because that's going to be very much a free-for-all.
No, you're not wrong, Nick. And you also, the only thing that I was thinking about while you were talking is like the physical aspect to it, right? She's been kind of hanging out in the last month, and these players, have played 1-2 tournaments, and you think about kind of her area of the draw where the early going is like, yeah, it might be tough, but you have a likely tired. Like, we'll see if Noskova even gets through. We'll see how far Rybakina gets through. Not that necessarily she would be fatigued, but just like not playing her best tennis at this moment, right? So we'll kind of see how those first few rounds unfold. But yeah, for her, just a few matches back, get some confidence and adjust to the conditions, and it becomes a lot scarier for the rest of the field.
Absolutely. So yeah, the more she wins, the scarier it is for everybody else.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. I think we should wrap that look ahead up. Not necessarily going to do a super breakdown this episode. So I'm just going to throw this out to you, Brenna. First round matches that you're like, that are really catching your eye. This smaller draw, I think, is bringing out some real bangers.
You are spot on with that. I am going to go with Kostyuk-Muchova. That is a good one.
Yeah,
And
I saw
then,
that.
okay. I'm gonna go Alexandrova versus Mboko.
Yeah, I'm liking that one as well.
Yeah, yeah. And then the Leylah Fernandez Osaka. That'll I think Fernandez impressed me against Gauff. I watched the first set.
She likes playing in Asia.
Yeah, so we shall see. I think one of those three. One of those three. What are you going with?
They are. I was going to go with the same three, to be honest. I think they are the real blockbuster matches we've got to look forward to from these opening couple of days in Wuhan, which starts in a few hours. From our perspective, as and when this comes out, there's a few other intriguing matches in there from like good quality players for various different reasons. Kostya Ostapenko could be entertaining, if anything, for seeing if the tempers fly from both players. Bencic Vekic could be sneaky good. Depends on which version of Vekic shows up. I'll put that in the dark horse to be good. But overall, I think the three that you've identified is interesting. Like Ghosty saying Schneider Sniakova. I think that's definitely an intriguing contest. Probably again going to depend on which version of Schneider shows up. Right. But yeah, for me, it's those three. It's Osaka Fernandez, Alexandrova and Mboko, and Kostyuk Mukova are definitely the three to watch from this tournament.
Beautiful.
I think we're just about covered. Brenna, any final thoughts before we sign?
No. Big win for Anisimova. Happy for her. And we'll see what happens this week. Should be a good one.
It will be a really good week of tennis. Brenna, thank you so much for coming on. This was a really good episode with you. Thanks everyone in the live chat for joining, especially Jake, who's spammed us with the super chats. Thank you to anyone who's listening to this back on the podcast or watching us back on YouTube. If you really enjoyed this, give us a 5-star rating, like, subscribe on YouTube, and be part of the Talking Tennis journey. And subscribe for more updates. There will be an ATP Weekly show wrapping up Shanghai when that finishes. When's the final for Shanghai? Is it Sunday?
Gosh. I couldn't tell you, but hold on. I will tell you in a second. It's October 12th, so we have a week.
We have a week. Okay, so it's on Sunday. So there will be an ATP Weekly and a WTA Weekly on Sunday next week to wrap up. Maybe TBD on the WTA Weekly and being on Sunday, actually, just thinking about my schedule. TBD on that. But wrapping up all the storylines from Wuhan and looking forward to the rest of the Asian swing. And we'll see if Sabalenka wins a 4th consecutive Wuhan title. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I'll see you all next time. In the meantime, take care and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.